supposed to be like this.
You've watched these movies, you've fallen in love with these characters, but what you don't know is that there are some iconic movie and TV characters who live with diabetes, and you probably never noticed. They didn't make a big speech about it, they didn't wear it like a badge, but the signs were right there, subtle, powerful, and often overlooked. One of them, Stacey McGill from The Babysitter's Club, a character whose insulin routine plays a life or death role in the storyline. But she's just the beginning. Wait until you find out which Disney mom quietly hinted at it, or which heartthrob TV doctor has type 2 and you never caught it. These characters and their diabetic moments are the topic of today's video. Make sure to stick around until the end because the last few characters on our list will leave you imploring for a part 2 series. Let's dive in. Purple Hearts. Cassie has a voice, a dream, and type 1 diabetes. She's not a background character, she's the lead. A love story? Yes, but also a survival story. Because her biggest enemy isn't heartbreak, it's the broken healthcare system. Six months into her diagnosis, Cassie's juggling work, music, and blood sugar levels. She can't afford the meds she needs to live. So what does she do? Something wild. She marries a Marine, not for love, but for insurance. It's messy, it's desperate, and it's very, very real. Behind the scenes, the team didn't guess their way through diabetes. They did their homework. Sophia Carson, the lead actress and executive producer, didn't just play the part, she studied it. She talked to real people with diabetes. One of them was Laura Pavlakovich, who runs a diabetes nonprofit. Her real-life experience helped shape everything from Cassie's emotions to her insulin pump setup. And there's more. Brianna Raquel, who played a smaller role in the movie, actually lives with type 1 diabetes. Nobody on set knew that at first, but once they found out, she became a quiet powerhouse, helping everyone understand the emotional side of the disease. Even the medical parts were done right. Dr. Michael Metzner, who worked on Grey's Anatomy, was on set making sure every blood sugar check looked real. And Medtronic, a major insulin pump manufacturer, stepped in to show how the tech works. One of their experts even ended up in a scene showing Cassie how to use a pump. That wasn't acting. That was a real demonstration. Tiny details were everywhere. Cassie's beat-up car, look closely. There's a bumper sticker for Just My Type, a diabetes community group. One of the scenes they had to cut, Cassie reattaching her insulin pump after an erotic scene. It didn't make the final edit, but the fact that they filmed it, huge win for representation. The movie shows the highs and lows, literally. Cassie grabs glucose gel from her table, she checks her blood sugar in the car, she's denied an insulin refill by her insurance. These aren't just plot points, these are real-life moments. And the biggest gut punch? The fake marriage. Because yeah, some people with chronic illnesses really do think about that. It's not a fantasy, it's survival. Turning Red. Now jump from gritty romance to animation. Turning Red is full of fluffy pandas and teenage chaos, but there's a surprise in the background, and the diabetes community noticed it fast. OMG! Look closely. One of the kids has something on her arm. It's a diabetes device. Not a CGM, though it looks like one, but an insulin infusion set. That tiny detail, it was on purpose. Meet Susan Fong. She's the technical supervisor for the film. She's also lived with type 1 diabetes since she was 4. Her idea? Add diabetes representation into the background. Nothing flashy, no big explanation, just a kid living her life with diabetes tech visible on screen. And the Pixar crew said yes. No drama, no debate. They loved the idea. Susan knew what she was doing. She didn't just want a random medical sticker on an arm, she wanted accuracy. The film is set in the early 2000s, so she made sure the tech matched that time. And yes, the placement was planned. The arm is visible in the frame. If they'd put it on the waist, the audience might have missed it. 2 characters wear diabetes devices in the film. One of them, Stacey Frick, shows up more than once. She's also the girl who supports the main character, May, when she turns into a giant panda. She doesn't flinch, she doesn't judge, she just accepts it. A subtle reminder, acceptance goes both ways. The crew even got a crash course in diabetes tech while working on the animation. They looked at real pumps, studied adhesive patterns, and made sure the design made sense on screen. Susan joked that some folks started calling the device an insulin injector, but hey, they tried, and they learned. For Susan, the goal wasn't to make diabetes the focus, it was to normalize it. It's there, it's visible, but it's not the whole story. just like in real life. Hannah Montana. This one's tricky. In season 2, episode 25, a character named Oliver gets diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. The idea? Teach kids about chronic illness through one of the most popular shows on TV. The execution? Mixed.
You're kidding me, right?
Why would I kid about Oliver having diabetes?
What?
Oliver's friends freak out. They think he can't eat sugar at all, ever. So they try to stop him from eating anything sweet, even when he actually needs sugar to treat low blood sugar. At one point, he dives into a trash can for a candy bar. Not great. The truth, people with diabetes do eat sugar. Sometimes they need sugar, especially during a hypoglycemic episode. The show did eventually get to that point. It told kids that Oliver was still the same person, that his diagnosis didn't change who he was. That was the good part. The bad part, the misinformation at the beginning. Some scenes were silly, others just plain wrong. The episode stirred backlash from parents and advocacy groups. Disney even pulled it temporarily to make edits. Still, credit where it's due. They tried to put diabetes on kids' radar, and Miley Cyrus used her platform to support awareness. Not perfect, but a step. Panic Room. Ready for some serious tension? In Panic Room, Kristen Stewart plays Sarah Altman, a young girl with type 1 diabetes. Home invasion is bad. Dropping blood sugar in the middle of it is even worse. This movie doesn't explain Sarah's condition with long speeches, it just shows it. Her glucose levels drop. She needs help. Fast. No time to explain, no need to. The audience gets it. She eventually needs a glucagon injection, accurate and serious. And yes, she uses syringes as weapons in a moment of panic. That's Hollywood for you. The tech shown was ahead of its time. Sarah wears a watch that tracks glucose levels. Not real back then, but close. Today we have CGMs that do exactly that. So the film, kind of a prediction. What makes Panic Room different is its anxiety. People watching it, especially those with diabetes, felt the stress in their bones. The timing, the symptoms, the urgency, it was all spot on. One viewer even said her mom was shaken because the seizure scene reminded her exactly of what real low blood sugar looked like. And that's powerful. Scrubs. Dr. Chris Turk is the cool guy. He dances in the hallways, cracks jokes, and never takes himself too seriously. But when season 4 hits, something changes. The confident surgeon gets diagnosed with type 2 diabetes.
Baby, look at you. Please go see our doctor.
I hate Dr. Kim. He always makes me take my pants off. Even that time I went in for pink eye. I gotta pee.
At first, he laughs it off. That's Turk's way. But as the jokes fade, reality sets in. Diabetes isn't just something he can ignore or operate away. It's real, and it doesn't care if you're a doctor. Scrubs doesn't turn his condition into a PSA. Instead, it does something better. It treats it like life. Messy, confusing, and sometimes scary. It shows how Turk learns to take care of himself without losing who he is. The diagnosis doesn't change him. It adds depth. Even in a comedy, it's a reminder. Diabetes doesn't have a type, and yes, even the surgeon dancing down the hallway can become a patient. South Park. South Park is not known for being gentle. It's bold, offensive, and always pushing buttons, but in the middle of that madness lives Scott Malkinson. He's the kid with a lisp, a whole lot of awkward, and type 1 diabetes.
I guess one thing about me that might be kind of different is that I have diabetes. Say what? I have a thing called diabetes. It's a condition that affects the way my body processes sugar.
At first, he's a joke, a punchline. He's the kid others mock because of his voice, his condition, or just because they can. But over time, Scott shifts. He still gets picked on, but he becomes more than just comic relief. He's the awkward hero who never really quits. And then there's Kyle. His diabetes is rarely mentioned, but it's there. It even explains why he once had a kidney transplant. South Park doesn't do subtle, but it does make a point. Even in the middle of satire, diabetes exists. In the episode The End of Obesity, the show tackles diabetes medications head on. It parodies Ozempic and the rush to use it for weight loss. It's ridiculous, it's exaggerated, but beneath the madness there's a clear message about how society treats illness and quick fixes. And in their game, The Fractured But Whole, Scott's diabetes literally becomes his superpower. It's absurd, it's also kind of genius, because it flips the narrative. Something seen as a weakness becomes his strength. So yes, South Park uses diabetes for laughs, but it also uses it to spotlight how people treat others who are different. and that's worth noticing. When called the heart. Hope Valley is a small town where big emotions live. It's cozy, dramatic, and full of heartfelt moments. But in season 12, things take a sharp turn. Little Jack, young, sweet, and full of life, collapses. He's always tired, always thirsty, and then comes the diagnosis, diabetes.
I don't know about that.
I think you are, because all Mounties are heroes.
Thanks, kid.
This isn't a punchline, it's a punch to the gut. His mother, Elizabeth, is heartbroken. Nathan, who helps care for Jack, is overwhelmed. The town comes together, but the future is unclear. Now, the show is most likely set in 1921. That's a problem. Insulin was only discovered in July of that year. The first human trial, not until 1922, and it wasn't widely available until 1923, so unless Hope Valley had a time machine, Little Jack's miracle cure isn't exactly accurate. The show tries to explain it with experimental trials, but let's be real, that just didn't exist yet, especially not for a small child in a rural town. Still, the storyline matters. It shows how scary a diabetes diagnosis can be, especially for a child. It's tender, it's emotional, and it highlights how much support families need. Even if the timeline is a bit off, the message is clear. Kids can face huge challenges and they need everyone in their corner. The Babysitters Club. Stacey McGill walks into the room and owns it. She's stylish, confident, and yes, she has type 1 diabetes. But that's not what defines her. It's just part of who she is. In the Netflix version of The Babysitter's Club, Stacey wears her insulin pump and glucose monitor like accessories. Not to show off, but because that's her reality. She talks about her blood sugar. She discusses her doctor visits. And when she doesn't feel great, she says so.
It would be a lot harder for me to hide this. 6 months ago, I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes.
It's too short. Let's try something longer. Just so the insulin pump doesn't show when you lift your arms.
This kind of honesty isn't common on screen. Most shows either avoid diabetes or turn it into something tragic. But Stacey, she's just a teenager living her life, and that life includes managing T1D. There's an episode where she's honored by a diabetes organization. She says she doesn't love having diabetes, but she's not ashamed of it either. And that's huge, especially for kids watching who might be wearing the same devices and feeling like they don't belong. Behind the scenes, actor Shea Rudolph didn't have diabetes herself, but she took the role seriously. She talked to real kids with diabetes. She asked what it felt like when blood sugar dropped or spiked. She made sure Stacey's experience wasn't just accurate, it was real. Representation doesn't cure the condition, but it does something almost as powerful. It tells people they're not alone. When TV shows stop pretending diabetes doesn't exist, the world gets a little more honest. And for someone living with diabetes, that honesty can feel like hope. There you have it, 8 movie and TV characters living with diabetes, woven so naturally into the stories that many of us completely missed it. So now we have to ask, which character stood out to you the most? Did any of these surprise you? Or maybe, have you spotted someone we didn't mention? Let us know in the comments. And also, should we do a part 2? Trust us, there are more hidden gems out there. If you love discovering these untold stories behind your favorite shows and movies, don't forget to subscribe and tap the bell so you don't miss what's coming next. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in our next video.